Tyler, today we're talking to Sara Schultz. Hey, Sarah Schultz.
Hey. Oh, no, you're saying that's her website.
That is her website. And I met her in Huntington Beach at our Contractor Coalition Summit. She spoke there about branding, what branding meant. And man, I was amped up because I've been a huge proponent of branding your company, and that's more than a logo. That's more than that. That's the story of who you are and everything about it. I sat in the back of that room, and true to my nature, I interrupted probably every 5 minutes, which she was, you know, she seemed pretty excited about it when I would interrupt her, but she shut me up quick. But today we have her on the podcast. Tyler, I know you met her. She is a ball of energy, and if you can keep up, I would put this on 1x speed. Do not speed this podcast up. If you can keep up, she gives you a ton of really solid advice as to what branding means for your business and how that is more than just what it looks like, but but what it sounds like, what it reads like, and all of this is really offered for free. All this information is on heysarahschultz.com. But of course, she also has her agency, which is free
Free afternoon.
afternoon. Yes,
And
free afternoon
podcast.
and podcast. The Refund.
Yeah. So I met Sarah at BizCom out in Minnesota last year. She was very pregnant, on stage giving um, a presentation regarding branding and your business, and just the energy that she had, and her energy and a little bit of self-deprecation being pregnant, the advocacy that she has for women, female owned businesses. I really admire what she's doing. Super talented. Check her out. Check out her website. Check out her business. Check out her podcast. Her podcast, they also film. So I would recommend watching that. They do a really well produced podcast recording. So not just an audio podcast. Go check out the filming of that because they do a really nice job with that. So I was very excited to have Sarah on. She is a difficult interview because she gives you every piece of information that you could need and more in a very terse, to the point manner. Almost doesn't give you enough leeway to come up with additional questions to ask her. Um, just really well versed, well knowledge, a lot of energy, very short, concise, to the point. A great guest who I also want to get back on because we did not get to everything that I wanted to get to with her. So I hope you guys all enjoy the podcast. We also have shirts for sale. www.moderncraftsman.co. Nick, go ahead. I thought you were going to talk again.
I did.
Nick keeps wanting to interrupt me, and at this point, I was willing to give up the stage, but he lost his opportunity. So if you go to www.moderncraftsman.co, there's a drop-down tab for shop. We partnered with a small company to produce a really high-quality shirt. This is not your promotional item throwaway T-shirt. We thought that partnering with a small brand, making an exclusive type of T-shirt, well designed, well branded, well made, was more in line with what we stand for, the ethos behind the Modern Craftsman. So check it out. Hop online, share the link, buy some friends some shirts, buy yourself some shirts, buy me some shirts,
Hell yeah.
and let us know what you think.
And let me just add to that. Pre-sale does end September 10th, and we are unsure. This is the Modern Craftsman Founders Tee. It's the first shirt that we've designed. It's the first shirt that we're running, and we're ending the pre-sale on September 10th. And at that point, we're not sure if we're going to run this design again. So if you want one of these, make sure you get on the website before then, order them, get your size in. 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have the shirt after pre-sale closes. We do have other stuff coming up outside of t-shirts. We'll announce that when we have product confirmation, but definitely urge you to get a t-shirt. And like Tyler said, They're really high quality. They are what I brand all of my company shirts on. They fit really nice and are strong and last a really long time. So,
Yeah, the next version we may partner with Sarah for a shirt that says "It's Yacht Week, bitches." But listen to the podcast for more details.
hey, did you know homeowners are asking for more and more glass in their homes? More views, more sunshine? And this means larger windows and more expansive doors to bring in the outdoor into their spaces. Sometimes it can be hard to know which windows can meet your dimensions.
At AndersonWindows.com, they have a fast and easy tool called Find My Size. You can find it in the For Pros section of their website. Nick, I have actually used this tool a handful of times on my current job, and it is very easy to use.
Hmm. Awesome. I thought you were going to keep going.
No, that's it.
Very good. Keep it simple. So all you got to do is enter your dimensions, and Anderson will tell you within their standard sizes which window or door style and which series are going to meet your opening.
And don't forget, Anderson offers custom sizes as well. And that information is linked in the Find My Size tool also. So visit andersonwindows.com/pros for all the product information you need to ensure you're ordering the right window.
And guys, if you've been tuning into the Modern Craftsman recently, you know that we're big fans of Buildertrend construction software.
They've got the tools you need to work simpler, impress clients, and drive growth. But what it is that really sets Buildertrend apart from all the other tech options we have as builders, it's their support.
Yeah, and they understand that learning new processes, let alone a whole new platform, can be intimidating. So that's why their team does everything they can do to make it simple and seamless as possible.
One of the best ways they get customers up to speed, it's their live training available for all customers. They have a calendar jam-packed with tutorials where a product expert walks you through how to best use a feature. Don't waste time fumbling around and wondering if you're doing things right. Get in the system, get what you need, then get back to your day. Builder Trend makes that easy.
And to learn more, visit buildertrend.com/MC support. I think I told you this, Tyler. We're pricing out that spec home that we're doing, and we have like some crazy
Ooh.
stone. And I priced the stone out, and I shared it with Vincent, who's the architect and or architectural designer. Before I'm called out for that, and he's like, "Yeah, man, that's way too high. Let me price it with my local guy." And he was 50% the cost. And I'm like,
No.
50%. I mean, this is a crazy
Ooh.
stone island. And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Dude," he goes, "everyone knows what you do. You're
Yeah.
all you do is promote great work and crazy, like, you look like you work for the wealthiest people in the world." He's like, "You gotta open another company and just hide behind it and just have them price out like the mom and pop thing." I'm like, "Damn it. I thought that worked in the other way."
Yeah, I would assume the same. Interesting.
Yeah. Sarah, how are you?
I'm so good. I
Good.
am so happy to be here. Thank you for your patience. We're in the process of this huge like
Oh, please.
email evolution. And so
Please.
I'm like looking at my new email and
I don't
like,
even know
how
what
do I get
patience you're
in?
you're thanking me for, but
Okay,
you're
well,
welcome.
I was a couple minutes late and that's not my normal
Oh, no.
style.
No,
So
that's
anyway,
okay.
thank you. Thank you.
Last
Nobody
time
would have known had you
yeah,
not said
no one
anything.
knows.
We're
Last
great.
time I saw you, you were, like, 8 months pregnant?
I am not
Same.
pregnant. I am not pregnant anymore, gentlemen. Thank the Lord. Yeah.
How boy, girl?
Boy, baby boy, Crosby,
Oh, that's so
almost
cute.
7 months old, which is bonkers. 1, that it's been that long since we've seen each other, and
Yeah.
2, that, like, how quickly time flies. It's
Mhm.
mind-blowing to me,
Yeah,
but
that's right, you
he's
were just
lovely.
ahead of my wife because we were
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was like, "Is she, like, angry and hating her life right
Oh,
now?
of
Is she still
course.
feeling good?" Yeah. So, like, I'm happier than ever to not
Yeah.
be pregnant. I feel finally like I mean, I'm sure your wife has shared a lot of this too, but like you start to finally feel like yourself again.
Yeah.
Like it'll take a while, but I'm can make decisions for me in a way that I
Mhm.
couldn't before, at least a little bit. So I'm starting to feel like, oh, I'm Sarah again, which is
I'll never
nice.
forget when we had our first, Marley. We,
Good name.
exactly 1 year after we had her, or she had my wife had her,
Yeah.
she said, I finally feel like myself again.
Yes.
And I can't remember if it was a day or a week later that she was like, I'm pregnant.
Okay, same exact thing happened to me.
Now,
I was
congratulations.
no,
No,
No.
2 years
you heard
after
it
I
here
had
first.
Abel, yeah, really. 2 years after I had Abel, I I went on a girls trip. It was like my first girls trip away, and we had fun. We had a ton of fun, and I was finally like, oh, because it was post COVID, so like there was
Hmm.
COVID travel happening, and then obviously I had a new baby, so I just was dedicated to being home with the baby too. And so finally, we all go, and I'm feeling great, and I come home. One, I got COVID on the trip,
Oh,
and two, I come back and find out I was pregnant
mm,
that whole trip and didn't know it. So I was like, my first weekend of finally like, oh my God, I'm back. I feel like me. We're going out. We're having fun. And no,
sure
I was
enough.
pregnant. Crosby, enter Crosby. So Crosby's going to be a cool dude. He knows how to party.
There you go. That
So
is
I think
awesome.
I think we had met at BizCom. You were
Yes.
presenting there.
Also
So that
very pregnant then.
yeah, so you were very pregnant, and that was like I didn't know who you were. And then you were presenting, and I was like, damn, this girl is legit pregnant, just like up here killing it, super engaging, a ton of
Thank you.
energy. Um, and I was like, this is sick. Like I love the energy. I love how engaging you were. I loved your whole presentation and the fact that you were up there just pregnant as hell kicking ass. I was like, I'm down with this. I want to know more.
Well, thanks for saying that because I was also really sweaty. It was so hot that
It was
day.
a little warm.
Oh my God, it was so hot. And I just like, I don't know about you too, but I live
Pregnant.
to speak, pregnant, yeah. In general, unpregnant, I live to speak. I love to be on a stage. I grew up on stages. It just really fuels my soul. But I, of course, get like really hot when I'm doing that. So it was like being hot up on stage because that's my normal state. Plus, it was hot in the room. Plus, being pregnant, it was a combination for an awful lot of sweat. But that's fine. Obviously, it landed. It worked. You were engaged and excited. Here we are. I'm a lot less pregnant. I'm a lot less sweaty. We'll see what happens moving forward. But I'm glad that you said that. Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. But yeah, we're excited to have you on. For anyone who does not know you, do you want to give just like the quick rundown of who you are and what you do? Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
like super in depth.
for sure. I'm Sarah. I have two core arms of my business. One, I run a creative agency, Free Afternoon, and we work one on one with clients that are really interested in building brand obsession. So we do that through branding, brand identity, strategy, and developing an expression of what their brand should be to target
Mm,
their dreamy client. The other side of my business is a blog full of free resources called heysaraschultz.com. And that's where we really target the budding business owner, a budding entrepreneur that maybe has more time than budget to spend on, again, building that brand obsession. So, very comparable in what we're doing at the core, but expressing that two very different ways to two very different demographics and still trying to serve the population to be their best selves in whatever business venture they want to get after.
So your background would, I guess, formally be in graphic design, like that's what you went to school for?
No, it is not what I
No?
went to school for.
Really?
No. Yeah, I started studying in interior design and I did not get accepted into my program, which was, of course, devastating because as a high performer, failure just fucking blows.
mm.
Do we swear here?
You
Oh,
can,
yeah.
yeah.
Potty words welcome. Okay, great. I always assume that because like you've heard me speak before. That's probably part of why you didn't not invite me on
I
your
was going to
podcast.
open
But
up with an F bomb, but I figured I'd let you go for it first.
thank you, Nick. Thank
You're
you. You know
welcome.
me. I love them. That's just devastating as a high performer, and that was a shitty experience. But the best because looking at the trajectory of what's gotten me to where I am today, I've not done just one thing, and learning what I feel would have been much more of a trade for me, I don't think I would have been satisfied in that. So I started in interior design, didn't get accepted into the program, switched degrees to design management. And that was really, really cool because I got to do studio based design classes, creative classes, art theory, design theory, and also business centric classes, finance and
Mm,
business management type activities. And it was unbeknownst to me, like the perfect connection point for ultimately being a business owner and doing what I do today. So thank you for not accepting me into your program, Arizona State University. I really appreciate that.
So you wanted to go to party at Arizona State, apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Although I didn't party, but yes.
Yeah. Um, do you do the graphic design work at this point, or are you hiring that out?
It depends on what point in the process we're in. So I'm the most heavily involved in the earliest parts of the process with our clients, really from a brand direction standpoint, setting the tone, supporting the strategy. And then I'm still probably touching 99% of the actual foundational assets that get created, selecting the color palettes based off of our strategy, developing the logos, coming up with font pairings. And then once that foundation is really set, I hand over to my senior designers who then start creating the collateral to bring it all to life that actually will go consumer facing in application.
So how did like the impetus for your business, was it to start out as a business designer, as a graphic designer, as a brand designer? Like what did it start as?
I wanted to be a stationery designer. I
Oh,
wanted to design wedding stationery. And that happened organically. I used to work for Target, which I can see out my window. I live in Minneapolis. Target's headquartered here in Minneapolis. And I got married in 2013 and I had designed our wedding suite. I've always loved paper. I knew I wanted to do something creative and visual. I didn't exactly know what that was going to be. At the time I was at Target, I wasn't doing anything creative. And so it was really fun for me to carve out some time and design this wedding suite, put it up in my cube at work. And colleagues and coworkers just started coming over and saying, "Hey, this is really beautiful. Where did you order this from?" I was like, "Oh, I made it." They're like, "Oh, do you do stationery design?" Yes, I'm a stationery designer. And I just agreed to doing that. And I slowly just started to get work. And that evolved over a few years into those wedding clients coming back and saying, "I'm starting a nonprofit, or I'm starting a blog, or I'm starting a business. Do you also do logos?" Yes, I also do logo design. And
sure. I
I
do
said, "Sure,
now.
I do now." It's exactly what it was. And I really quickly found out, I knew that I was always entrepreneurial spirited. I always wanted to run a business. I wanted to be my own boss and to have freedom and flexibility and all the fantastic things that can come with running your own business. I just assumed it would be in a different field than it ended up being in. And so I fell in love with the entrepreneur's undying belief in themselves. Like, we just have this belief system that against all odds, we're going to make it. And that's rare when you think of the general pool of people you interact with on a daily basis outside of your colleagues that also do the same thing. If I'm just on the street corner, most of these people are probably miserable in their lives, miserable in their businesses, clocking in, doing a job like a robot, and then clocking out. But entrepreneurs have this intoxicating passion that I couldn't imagine not working with. And so as I started working more and more with previous bridal clients, realizing that brides are crazy, why do I want to work and deal with them? I loved working with fellow entrepreneurs who are like, "I've got this idea. I think it's going to work. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to invest some time and invest some money and we'll see what happens." And just over time of working with people like me, realizing, oh my God, you don't just need a logo. You need a whole branding suite. Oh my gosh, you don't just need a branding suite. You need a style guide and directions as to how to express the brand. Oh, you also need direction around foundational photo and video assets so that you're telling the right story. Oh, you need voice clarification. How do you sound? How do you write? And it just turned into this evolution of really understanding the true foundation to actually target the right person, subconsciously connecting with that client, that helped me really evolve into where we are today and offering a pretty comprehensive program that allows for people to do just that.
So what sort of input does this require from your client as far as like how much information do they need? Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like most people who come to someone like you, like they don't understand what they need to do or what they need of themselves, what you need. So how much customer client input do you need to get from point A to answering all of these questions and creating this brand suite?
Very little today.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, because we have positioned ourselves in the marketplace and the clients that are naturally coming to us, whether that's organically or being a referral from, have this base understanding of like, I know I need something, but I don't know what I need. And it's not my job to understand what that is. It's Sarah's job to understand what that is. And so a lot of how we start is very conversational and very organic, and just really understanding what are the high level goals? Who are you really excited to talk to and why? And then we're able to run with it from there and say, okay, based off of we'll build out a dreamy client avatar for them. Based off of this client avatar, this is the direction you should go strategically because of all of the knowledge we have in doing what we do and helping them understand what that looks like. Rarely is there that's over at the agency. Over on Hey Sarah Schultz, there's a lot more education that has to happen because these people are not hiring somebody to do it for them and tell them why this is what matters and what's important about this. So with our clients, it's nice that we have this roster of business owners that come to us fully trusting that they're in good hands and understanding enough to know that this is a really good starting point for them to continue to evolve and express off of. Because a brand is a living entity. It's evolving, it's not stagnant. And so, we really build a strong foundation to help that evolution continue on and supply some resources and tools to help them on that journey, at least getting started on that journey.
Do you have a big conversion from the free content to paying clients?
No.
Yeah.
Right now, this is exactly why. And I think, Nick, at Contractors Coalition, that was kind of the first time I was really talking about this divide. So what was happening was I have this captivated audience who kind of started business like when I started or shortly after me, and we've grown up together.
Yeah.
And not all of that audience is full-time or has been fully dedicated in growth or on a different trajectory, and they're not all ready to invest dollars, but they have time still for sure, or many of them have time. So when I started pricing myself out of the existing demographic that I had captivated, I didn't want to stop serving those people.
Right.
And so that's truly two separate business models targeting two separate people. It's relatively rare if somebody finds Hey Sarah Schultz content or blog content that they're financially ready to invest over at Free Afternoon simply because of our package pricing. It happens, but that's not really where conversion takes place in my business. We are now building out passive income, course content, lower price point offerings for the Hey Sarah Schultz client base and who's currently following along over there, that we're in a ton of beta testing to learn and reiterate and see, can we really start making a lot of money on that side? High volume.
When did you launch that first course?
First course was launched around this time last year.
And do you mind?
Poorly.
How well has it done over the course of a year?
We've probably sold 200 courses. So nothing. I mean,
sure.
That's not nothing, but that's not a model that's going to work.
No, I mean, it's low. I mean, at $24 a piece, it's not a huge,
right.
Yeah. What do you see? Because I'm super interested in that side of it. Obviously I'm a builder first, and that will always be my main focus. But, similar to you, I have this captivated audience, and people want to chat. And it's like, hey, I want to run something by you, or I love your input in something. And that's where Tyler and I both opened up our calendars to do these one-on-one calls where, 6 years ago, whatever it was, when we started this podcast, we were doing that, kind of free. And then we decided to do it on a podcast, and we'll do the podcast because then we can share it with, tens of thousands of people. But now we're back in this momentum of like, all right, people still want the one-on-one, but we got to put a price point to it. And now I'm getting to a point where it's like, I would love to figure out a way where I can speak one-on-one in like a course setting and be like, "Hey, this is how we do this. And here's all the steps. We walk you through it. Here's the download, blah, blah, blah." And it's the same thing where it's like I've considered putting it into a course and then just
Hmm.
allowing it to live and be this kind of passive income in the back end. The other side of me is like, I kind of want to just give everything away, continue to give everything away for free.
Yeah,
And I recently I started realizing, and it's similar to a lot of these big creators out there, that everything is free. You know, you could listen to every episode of the podcast. You can watch all our videos. You could read all our social content, and what you're
exactly.
selling is the speed in which that information is delivered, right?
Exactly it.
Where it's like,
I don't say I don't say any I'm not saying anything new here
right,
that I haven't said someplace else, or that in our core course right now,
hmm
if you wanted to consume all the little bits of content, I'm saying it over and over and over and over. But
right,
you're right. I've condensed it down into 20 minutes for you to quickly understand and then
right.
take action on. And that's what people want.
Right. And ultimately it's like, $24, it becomes, a price point where it's like, oh yeah, I'll pay for that. That way I don't have to do the work. It'll cost me an hour to do that work. My time's worth more than 24. I mean, frankly, you could probably sell it for higher than that, but as I'm sure you know. But it's I was curious at how many people are consuming the free and convert. And I feel like that when talked about it in Huntington, you were talking about it like you said for the first time, and it felt as though here's my opportunity. Exactly what you said is I've taken this hard left turn with my branding agency or my creative agency, and that price point is becoming higher and higher. How do I continue to serve the clients or friends or peers that were with me in the beginning? And to relate this back to building, you know I, a friend of mine is a builder in Boston. We talk constantly, and we actually, when we look at work, we ask each other, "Hey, are you looking at this project?" Because both of
Mm,
us were doing this thing where we would look at a project, or even maybe price the project, or even try to do the project when we didn't want to, because
yes.
we felt as though that client was going to end up with some shithead that was doing a poor job, where it's
Yeah.
like we would take it on.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation, and like we finally got to a point where it's like, all right, let's make sure that when we're looking at these jobs, if you don't want it and I'm looking at it, let me run with it, and then
Yeah.
just I'll back you up to say, hey, you should work with them, and vice
Yeah.
versa. um because it sucks where it's they're on a personal level, right, or an emotional level. Like, business is business. When I price myself out of that group, great, I'm working for wealthier people that are going to spend more money, and it's going to make my portfolio look great. But there's still this like emotional side of, but like, I really want that person to have a good project, like a good experience. I don't want them to end up with some shithead because he's less expensive. And this is where, I mean, we could go in every direction here, but this is also where the education comes into play, where hey, maybe you shouldn't be buying such a big house or an expensive house. Maybe you should be buying a less expensive home so you can work with a higher quality person.
Yes. And that's, I say this all the time to business owners. I get it. I'm a brand designer. I
Mm,
do think that your visuals are very, very important, especially because the subconscious needs to decide to consume. And you
hmm
don't, a subconscious doesn't have the time, especially today with so much content floating around, to read any nuance whatsoever. They
hmm
need to visually be attracted first and then decide to stay long enough to consume the one line of copy. And hopefully that one line of copy is compelling enough to let them read the rest of whatever it is on your website or on a post or a flyer,
hmm
any bit of content. So I, at my core, believe that your visual story has to be so in alignment with what you want to do. And I do not think it's the best investment for every business owner.
mm
It can be very expensive to do well. Are you ready to do that? Just because you have stellar branding that's I attracting your ideal client and targeting your right person, there's a whole other slew of business setup you need to have ready to go and rock your processes, what you're selling, how your client experience is, like what that looks like for you to have a successful business. And if
hmm
you're not willing to invest, whether that's time or money, into figuring those pieces out too, I can't outbrand that process for you. I
yeah,
can't outbrand that potential failure. And so it's interesting. to talk to. It's a pretty clear divide to me in people that I interact with. I know almost instantly, like, you're willing to do the work, whether that's with your time or your money, or you're not quite there yet, you're not ready, you've got some other learnings to kind of get after, before you're maybe committed or you're ready, or whatever that looks like.
What
And everyone's journey is different. I'm certainly not trying to pass judgment on fellow business owners, but as I interact with more and more, and I see, especially my close peer group who have been very successful at having this be a full-time job that supports their family, supports their lifestyle, supports their goals. I don't know if you guys agree, but I see a really clear difference as I'm interacting with people. I'm like, you got it. You're gonna get there.
Yeah, but so on the opposite end of the spectrum, what do you say to the people who have an established business who aren't well branded, who are like, "Hey, I have enough work already. Why would I devote time, money, resources
Yeah.
to what you do?" Like, what's your answer to those people?
Most of the time it has to do with what their goals are. A referral is going to fuel a business, probably for someone who's a solo entrepreneur, or it's just them as a freelancer, um, and they have goals to, like, I want to feed my family and I want to live a comfortable life. You probably don't need all the bells and whistles to build out a successful business if that's what success looks like for you. Once you start having goals to scale, to have true business growth where your time is no longer the only thing you can exchange for money, other things need to happen in your business. Bringing on a team, making sure that you have a visual story and spoken written story that can talk to those people when you're not talking to those people, whether that's through a podcast or being on podcast interviews or putting out video content, whatever that lives on besides your one-on-one time. To me, that's the biggest shift.
Mm.
In you actually probably do need to make sure you have strong alignment. If it's just going to be you and another person or an admin or just a handful, like, yeah, I would probably suggest you maybe don't need to have the best branding ever, because your work should hopefully speak for itself and your referrals will continue to send other referrals in. And that's not always going to be the case, though. But if you want scale, if you want growth, if you want big dollars, you're going to hit a point where you can't just trade time for money. And that's when I think a much larger story and strategy needs to put into play.
So I mean this in the kindest way. This is like a super difficult interview because you give so much good information so quickly that it's like I'm trying to listen to what you say and then process that, retain that, and then also be set up for another question. And you make it very difficult to do because I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. And then I start thinking about something else. I'm like, I forget what I'm going to ask her.
I'm
There's
making
like a
notes of
lot.
things
There's
I
a
want to
lot going
change.
on. It's all good though.
Well, I'm glad to keep you guys on your toes. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
this is like
hearing.
I feel like there's high energy right now.
Always.
Sarah,
Yeah,
I
this is
love it.
great.
I think what's interesting, you said in a couple minutes ago, is brand strategy. So I work with Slash, who's been my brand strategist and guardian since we started the business. Like, I sat down with him, I explained what I wanted, and our every year we renew the contract, we change the relationship and go deeper into, hey, like, let's be more specific with this thing. And more recently, like, he came to me and said, hey, let's just let's pivot and I want to become the brand guardian, meaning anything that has any branding on it, I need to bless before it goes out to the public. And when you hear that, it's like, man, that's why? Like, what do you really need that for? And then you realize how important it is. And we started building all of these, like, booklets. And I'm gonna reach for one, but it was like, hey, we're gonna put together our home care
Yes.
offering. And he's like, well, why don't we brand that? And I'm like, okay. So I sent him a PDF, and he came up with this. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is awesome. And then we did the
Yep.
same thing for the handbook, and the handbook looked amazing. And I got it, and I remember having this moment of opening that handbook, and flipping through it, and I was catching myself stopping to read parts of it. Meanwhile, I just spent months writing it. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know what it says. I
Uh-huh.
don't need to know what my PTO policy is, but I realize this is what this is about. It's the touch point, it's the feeling, it's the professionalism. And you said a minute ago about how that goes on to, social strategy and things like that. And for me, I think about our social media. We've done a great job. It for a long time, it was me. It was just me. Then it was Doug who started helping me create video. And we've since grown that into a team at Motif, and Catherine, who is our content manager here at NS Builders. And, and the thing that we keep coming back to is I want to rewrite our story. I want to
Mm,
rewrite what we're doing and be more intentional with what we're showcasing. Because right now, if you go to our Instagram, it is very educational. It's very much me. Hey, this is what I do. This is why I do it. This is why every builder should do it. Content, which is valuable to peer to peer. Like a lot of other builders are watching and be like, hey, this is Nick does this, I want to do that. Or
yeah.
maybe an architect's like, hey, Nick's doing this, like he obviously cares and gives a shit, let's hire him. But I'm starting to lose that focus of, well, what is it that we're actually selling? Like, are we selling how to build a construction company or how to be a better builder? When the reality is, it's like, no, we want to be selling homes. We want to be selling very specific homes and expensive homes. I keep saying expensive. They just end up being. I would love them not to be
Right.
expensive, right? But very like architecturally driven homes, distinctive homes. And so we met last week, and I said, hey, we need to rethink this. We need to rethink about like what we're showing and what we're communicating. And we can sprinkle in the educational stuff and talk about our process. But I really want you uh, someone to experience on social media the same way they experience us, anywhere else, where it's you're getting these constant touch points of the projects and what we're actually selling, that end result of a beautiful home. And I guess my long-winded way of getting to this is I think that is something that is oftentimes not thought through, and there
I
isn't
agree.
a plan. And and if there is a plan, it's just I'm going to post all the time, and it works, right? We've grown to 100 and something thousand followers on Instagram. We're close to that on YouTube. Like, it works. We're pumping out content, but you know, I'm saying it. It. Tyler knows it. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter if I have a million followers. How many of those are actually going to convert to a sale?
And are
And
they the right people that you want to be selling to?
right.
And and what you're touching on here, Nick, is the reality that your brand is its own being. It's its own entity. It's more than just you. It's also it has its own persona. It's its own identity, and knowing that it can and should evolve.
Hmm.
And so, as you continue to unearth what your goals are, who you're excited to serve, who you want to teach, who you're trying to target, you should always be refining messaging too, or potentially rebranding. If there's a total, pivot happening, that might be an indication that you do need to rethink what's tone,
Hmm.
what are my visuals, what is my strategy moving forward. So I love this branding guru that you have that is helping guide you through this natural evolution. One, consumers are used to seeing this live in the marketplace. That's
Hmm.
one of the things I think so many people are afraid to launch with just minimum viable product. Stop stopping yourself. Launch your fucking business. Figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can evolve in front of people. People are bored anyway. They're going to forget what you did last week. So as you are out there and learning who you love to work with, you don't love to work with, what parts of the project are your favorite, or what your special sauce is, your
Mm.
spin, your magic, you're going to start to refine messaging. You're going to speak to that more clearly. It's going to start attracting and narrowing down those people. And yeah, maybe the 100,000 aren't converting at the level you want them to do, but you are doing two things really intelligently. One, video is going to live on and on and on and on. So from a exchanging time for money standpoint, our time together today is a couple hours. This video has the potential to live on far beyond that, far
Mhm.
beyond my active time, proving I'm capable, I know my shit. And somebody 5 months from now might stumble upon this
Yeah.
and say, I need Sarah,
Right.
or I need Nick, or I need Tyler. I like his questions. Like, there, that's a smart play in general. So that 100,000 might not be today, but they could be coming up the next time. And
To-
go ahead.
totally. And I think that, like the fact that this right here, like the content we're creating today, what you just said, like is evergreen. Like people can come back to it and realize that there's opportunity to work with any of us. Um, I just completely lost my train of thought.
Uh-oh. Um,
Happens to the best of us.
That hasn't happened to me on this podcast in a long time, but here I am. So,
so why do you with what you're doing, with what Slash is doing, and taking this more comprehensive
mm,
approach to design, why do you feel that most people aren't going that route, that there's like this separation between all of these different entities and systems when it comes to creating your brand, where you're like hiring somebody to handle your business end of things, somebody to create your graphics, then somebody to handle your website? Like, why aren't people taking a more comprehensive approach to the brand totality, than more just like bringing in and piecing it together through specialization?
Because they're afraid. They're not dreaming big enough.
mm,
No national brand is making it with a piecemeal identity. Pick
mm,
any national brand you recognize. That is not, even if it started as piecemealed to get going because they realized they just needed to start, those big brands put huge dollars
yeah.
behind identity every time. I mean, pick any of them.
Well, I mean,
So
Instagram alone, right? And Drew and I talk about Instagram where he's like, the logo changes every 6 months. And I was
it's
like,
like,
no, but I think I noticed it. He goes, no, it's very minor. And there's been big changes over the year. And it's like the famous one is Pepsi. And everyone's like, I can't
yes,
believe they spent $2 million, whatever it was, changing it. And
2
it's
million.
basically the same thing. And it's like, I know, but you know, and for face value, that sounds ridiculous. But
Sounds crazy.
there was a thought behind it, and I think it was on Abstract on Netflix, and I think it talked about the Instagram logo, if I remember correctly. But I remember seeing there was this visual of the room that they drew thousands of those icons.
Yeah,
And when they went through that rebrand, when they went from like the brown and tan camera to the rainbow camera, and how
yeah.
they shifted the gradient like 1,000 different ways. But and this is what I was going to say earlier when I lost my train of thought is Drew, we were reviewing something and he switched his monitor quickly and then flipped it back and he goes, sorry, my bad. But in doing that, now I'm saying this out loud, I wonder if he was teasing me, but he had a new version of our entire brand. And I was
Mm,
like, what was that? And he goes, oh, it's just something I'm working on in the background.
nothing.
I'm like, no, 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 go back. And he showed me, I'm like, this looks amazing. And he goes, yeah, I'm just making these like tiny little, very, very little tweaks
It's like
and
refinements.
refinement. And, like we actually updated our logo on Instagram with a different font and it's slightly different than what it was a week ago. But only one person immediately was like, hey, did you just change your font? And everyone else, it looks the same.
Hmm.
But there's that as you say, that evolution. And I think about when we started the business, we had all of these word marks and logos and cross nails, and we had this design build repeat kind of slogan. And we have slowly removed one thing after the other to then come back to the core brand, which is NS Builders.
Yeah,
And and no one's once questioned as to why aren't you using that anymore? It's just they have evolved with us.
absolutely. I I I think that's, to me, that biggest difference is these business owners are fearful. There might
Yeah,
be real constraints. I'm not
totally. If
kidding
there's no
myself.
cash, there's no
If
cash.
there's no cash, there's no cash, right? But I think a big part of it is this fear that probably isn't even a conscious thought of like, what if this doesn't work? Like, I don't necessarily want to invest or be vulnerable and put myself out there. And the clearer you can get and continue to refine, the more success you will have. And especially when you want scale and growth and to reach masses in a different way than if it's just me hopping down to the coffee shop and hoping I stumble upon somebody that needs a service like mine. This is a way better use of my time to blast it out to the universe, right? Than me just being like, I'm going to put my business card on this coffee shop pegboard. Like, yeah, maybe that will work, but how many people are really going to see that versus me having an amazing conversation with you two? Again, proving that I know what I'm talking about is a really good use of my time, because someone is going to see this and they're going to be like, oh shit, I want Sarah to do this for my business, and they're going to pay for that. Or they're going to say, oh God, I want Sarah and her team to do this, but I'm not ready yet. So I'm going to go over to Hey Sarah Schultz side. And now that we've finally built out sales funnels, and now that we finally have a comprehensive ad strategy, these pieces that we're missing as to why the course didn't nail it the first time, they're going to find themselves in a drip campaign that ideally will end up converting them, even if it's at a smaller dollar amount, that is going to start to roll up to be a larger part of that revenue.
So while we're on that topic, what do you feel people are doing wrong? Like what would you suggest as somebody's first move when they're looking to establish this brand, whether they're have been in business for a long time or they're just starting a new business? What's the best investment for their money?
I think two things are really missing frequently. One is consistency in visuals. There are such fantastic tools out there like Canva that can help you make really quick content look good, and push very relatively easily. You don't necessarily have to have a design eye to do this. But there's so many different templates and versions and fonts and colors, and it's so easy to get stuck in the flavor of the week that you're like, oh, I like this today, and I'm going to do this for my reel cover and push that. And oh, I like this today, I'm going to use this on my email marketing newsletter, and then push send on that. And by not having consistency, you're losing an opportunity to drive brand recognition. And without brand recognition, you're never going to close a sale. And I mean, if you don't close a sale, you're not making money. So that's one of the biggest things that we're evolving into. Is I used to talk a lot about brand recognition, brand recognition, brand recognition. Why is that fucking important? It's about making money. I am here to help you make money. So we're in this messaging refinement right now to talk solely about your social media content can make you money. Now, the how is brand recognition and being consistent with your visuals and all this other content that is like flying over somebody's head. They don't get it. What they need to understand is this will make you money because it will convert, and that's brand loyalty and brand affinity. So that's one thing, lacking consistency. The other thing is just assuming that social media is enough. You do not own your social media platforms. And when Mark Zuckerberg gets cranky, or when Elon decides whatever he's going to decide and turns these platforms off that you're making money off of, you're fucked that day. Like, you're just going to make no money. I don't care what your business is. If that's the only thing you're doing, is that the only thing you're relying on to get to your people, you're going to die off as soon as the new social platform comes and cannibalizes what's happening today. So be smart and own your content. Put it on a website that you own. Put it in an email blast that you own. That's really hard to do because posting on social media has no nuance. There's no time for nuance on social media. So you can quickly just post something and put it up, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Putting together a full blog post that needs 1,200 words and nuance, or putting together a newsletter that needs nuance and explanation, takes a lot more time. So people don't do it. It's why I launched a course and didn't have any of the back end important stuff built out on the blog or built on in a sales funnel, because I wanted it out there quickly. Well, guess what? It didn't work because I don't control that enough.
What you just said something about blog posts having 1,200 words. What's the relation to that? Is that important? Is that a stat?
No, SEO is constantly changing the rule of thumb on this front, but from a simple, the more an SEO strategist is going to punch me in the face for even attempting to touch on this. I basically am saying your blog post needs to have rich content that's hitting your keywords. I just picked 1,200 words. You can't just post a 45-word blog post and hope that, one, you're getting your message across. That's not how people consume blogs in general, and it's not going to serve your SEO. That's ultimately what I'm saying.
Got it.
I think the new-ish like rule of thumb is 800 to 1200 words.
I'm definitely not hitting that.
Somebody is there a fact checker on this? Somebody
Yeah,
fact
we're
There
check
is
not
the way
no
we're
we
not
do
fact
it.
there
checking.
yet.
There is no fact
It's
checking.
part of our brand strategy, though.
Amazing. So you as a listener, just double check, do your due diligence, see what Google's favoring today. But yeah, you basically just want to make sure that you're giving the post enough words to be
Totally.
not
Yeah.
loading in keywords, not, but strategically
And
utilizing the keywords that
so
matter.
what you said earlier about like just start your business and then refine over time, that's kind of that's been my motto since I started, where it's like I'm just gonna go for it and then fix it later, like, and just fix it later, or refine it later. And blog is a great example where I wanted to have blog content. I wanted the website to get a blog a week, and I was like, I just can't dedicate the time to it. I shouldn't
So
say that.
hard.
I can't prioritize it right now. There's other things I need to do. So we started. What we do is we film every week, and I told you this in Huntington, but we film every week. We take that video and we run it through a
Transcriptor.
transcript. Yeah, I think it's rev.com. So then it gives me the transcript, and then I give it to a writer we hired off of Upwork or something like that.
Yeah.
And they turn that into a blog, put it up, and they upload it to the website, and they link my video. So now I have a
Done.
blog. It's all the same thing.
It's all the
And
same.
all I had to do is record that one video. But I know that I've read a few of them. I'm like, oh, well, that's not really how I sound, but
Same.
we'll roll with it.
So we're in the process of the same thing. I hired a writer to basically, I just gave a shit ton of ideas. Like, this is the content we need to have on heysaraschultz.com that business owner is looking, whether it's
Yeah.
FAQs I've collected or content I knew I wanted to teach on. And it's fine. It's live. And I read them and I'm like, this is not exactly how I would sound, or this isn't exactly how I would say it. But you know what? We can go back,
Yeah.
prioritize the content that's getting the most clicks,
Right.
update that first, let it run, do another batch of updating. This is part of that evolution over time.
Mm-hmm.
We've really decided to reposition all of our course verbiage to be about making money. So that needs to be throughout the website experience on heysaraschultz.com too. It's not today. Somebody's going to go there and be like, wait, what is Sarah talking about?
Right.
I need to evolve. I need to tweak. I need to refine too. So, and it is hard. It is so hard because today, that's not what's making me money. Today, working one-on-one with my clients on free afternoon is making me money. So I have a really hard time pulling my team and resources over to something that's building up right now that will eventually drive revenue. I don't doubt that. We'll figure that out. I'm passionate enough about it to figure it out. Mark my word, have me back in a year. We can talk about the numbers. But it's really hard to be like, hey, client, I can't start you for 3 months because I'm in the middle of this process of $0 coming in right now. I'm going to constantly get called back to the client work and get called back to the client work. So it's hard. It's really hard to prioritize that.
So why do you channel free afternoon through Hey Sarah Schultz? Sorry.
Because the split is new. So
Okay.
this you're like literally seeing this unravel live time.
Yeah, because like if you go to look you up, like free afternoon, unless you specifically, but like all keywords for you and what you do does not pull up free afternoon.
It's hot off the press, baby. We didn't even we've been operating client facing under free afternoon since COVID. We never did a public push. And again, it was because it just kept working. But what was working was trading my time for money. That model is working. I don't want that business model anymore. I'm ready for growth and for scale. And I also know I don't want to run an agency of 25 designers with hundreds of clients. That's not a business model I'm interested in. So as I continue to decide, well, how do I want to spend my time with my family, with myself, my free time, I knew scalability needed to happen. And I also knew that wasn't going to happen on the agency side. So that's when I decided we have to make this split. These mostly referrals that are coming in, or now we do get cold leads, which is really exciting because anytime you finally hit that true organic traffic coming in, I don't know about you guys feeling that, but I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I made it. Like, you're not just my friend doing me a favor, or you're not a friend of a friend doing me a favor. Like, you like me, you like my work. Oh, hell yeah. So that's really exciting. We have a lot more of that coming in right now where I'm like, I don't know who you are at all. We can't even like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon this. Where did you come from? That's like so exciting to me. But I also know that's going to end because of what I want my business model to be. So, challenge accepted. We are working on creating Free Afternoon as a much stronger independent identity that pulls me out of the story much more and not relying on the Hey Sarah Schultz brand to fuel over to Free Afternoon, which is what's still happening today. And that also is going to take some time naturally.
Why do you want to
because I
be?
have brand recognition.
But why do you want to be pulled out of it? Just so it's not related to a person?
No, because I guess yes, a little bit. What I want to do is over on Free Afternoon is so much bigger than just Sarah the person. And I have a full team that helps. There's 8 of us that build out this incredible content. And so I don't want to discount or position that like I'm this solo brainchild, that like I have people on my team way smarter than me that really help make this come to life. And I, lead the ship. Right. And that's how I want to position. I also want to be able to play against someone who doesn't realize they can work with something other than a traditional agency. So it's kind of like this hybrid where maybe you're like, oh, I have to hire an agency. Free Afternoon has a more agency feel in my head. That's what we're going for. But then they also realize it's like this hybrid. No, I'm still a person. It's still me. You're going to get my energy. You're going to get my attention. You're not just like a cog running through the machine of an overworked bunch of people that think it's cool that there's a ping pong table in the lobby. Like, it doesn't have to be that way either.
Well, that's also something that I listened to a conversation with you that you were stressing that people want to be able to feel connected to the whoever built that brand. And I know that Nick struggles with this, right? Where he's stepping back and pulling himself back and having a less hands-on approach. But how do you balance that pulling back with still maintaining that those connective tissues with the people who want to have that connection with you? Do you feel that like is there something that's more important? And then also the other part of that question would be like, do you feel that this connectivity that you stress is so important is something that's more recent, like has recently manifested itself through the whole maker era where people like want to pay to have a connection with somebody or to have that more personal feeling for a service that they're hiring out?
Good questions. What I think is more important is whatever else I want to do with my life. So I've never been a business owner that's like, I'm going to work a 100-hour week. And sorry, I don't know why my focus isn't working. I want to work a 100-hour week and I'm going to hustle and I'm going to stress myself out. I'm the only one that can do what I want, right? I've been much more out of a fluid, peaceful state of business ownership where I want my business to fund the lifestyle that I want to live. Lucky for me, I do what I love and I fucking love my work. And if I do have a free evening uninterrupted, I probably do sit down and create something, or I probably do work on, brushing up on some new skills or researching new design trends or whatever that looks like, because I love what I do. I don't want to do this all the time forever and ever till the end of the earth. I want to spend time with my friends. I want to travel. I want to have time away from my business. Knowing that reality, I can't trade time for money because I want so much more than what that 1-to-1 ratio looks like. I want to spend more time with my kids and my family. I want to spend some time alone. Like, get me on a beach by myself for a week, please. And not have to think about some of these realities of business ownership. So my plan is to continue to be the front, that key person you're working with on the Free Afternoon side, but that the passive reality and income that comes over on the Hey Sarah Schultz pillar of the business starts to really fund revenue in a way that we've not seen before. And still be really highly connected to a small handful of like cream of the crop, dreamiest clients in such sheer alignment, and no no, like, I want to have no need over there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to have this, like, oh, not the right fit.
Yep.
See ya. I'm not concerned about not getting that $50,000 contract because I don't need it. I want to be like, oh my God, you're launching this really cool app. I want to be a part of this. Let's talk strategy. So it's not that I'm trying to pull myself out. It's that I'm trying to significantly reduce what client numbers look like at Free Afternoon so that
Mhm.
I am fully invested and fully involved. We take less clients. They all have higher budgets, but revenue really starts flowing in here. High volume, low price point.
I think what you're speaking to right now is, I mean, probably everyone's dream, right? Is to
Yeah.
only do what they like and only work with the people that they like. And your advice as to building out this other business that is creating passive income through courses, through free content, through brand awareness, through this is who I am, this is what I can offer you. Beyond that, and when you think about the main core business, what what is it going to take you? What is it going to take for you to get there? Or is it solely reliant on, hey, Sarah Schultz?
To what is it going to take to me to be able to pull out of Free Afternoon or
Yeah,
like to
like
back away from
when do
client
you
workload?
uh, probably similar to myself, you probably will get to where you're like what you're saying right now. You'll probably get there a lot sooner than you think, and then when you get there, you'll move the goalpost to something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've lived my entire life. It's like cool,
Exactly.
not that's actually not where I wanted to end up. I want to go right there, but
Yeah.
in the current moment that you're in with the
Mm-hmm.
8-person team, with the Hey Sarah Schultz.com, you know what is your next 12 to 36 months look like, and when do you think that you'll actually get to the point that you'd like to be?
Ooh, a couple of vanity metrics are very important to me. And I call them vanity metrics because they're arbitrary. I think
Mhm,
revenue is a bit of a vanity metric
mhm.
because profitability is what is going to pay the bills. But only 2% of women owned businesses are at that $1 million mark or above. And I will be one of those 2%ers, and I'm not yet. And so
Hold on,
that
I
is
just wanna understand that stat. 2% of women-owned businesses will ever break $1 million in your field?
no excuse me, 2% of businesses in the $1 million and above are women owned.
Wow.
Wait, did I say that backwards this time? Only I
That
the first time I had it right. Only 2% of women-owned businesses hit
Ma
this the $1 million mark or above.
business, like every field.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Considering in the United States, it's 50% men and women.
Yeah.
And again, we should fact check this. I'm pretty sure the split between male and female owned businesses is pretty evenly split. It might be like 60-40 leaning towards men. Somebody again, fact
Interesting.
check, but it's a really depressingly low number that has a lot of nuance as
Well,
to
forget the depressing.
why.
You're gonna be in the 2%.
I'm going
Congratulations.
to
That's amazing.
thank you. Thank you. I will be there. And I want to, that's really what fuels the Hey Sarah Schultz brand, is
Mm.
because I want to get there. And then I want to help other women get there because this is just bullshit to me. Like, whether it's limiting beliefs, whether it's lack of funding, which it is lack of funding, go look to see who gets funding in today's business space. It is not women, and it is not people of color. It's just like the cards are just so stacked against highly capable people that are intelligent and have fantastic ideas and are worthy
Mm.
of this. And so I want to do it just to show it can be done. Like, at the end of the day, that's a big part of it to me. And I really want to inspire other women in business to do the same
is that
because
still
it
the
doesn't have to
case?
be
Is
impossible.
that still the case for most of your business, that it's primarily focused on women-owned business and female-based entrepreneurs?
Yes,
Yeah.
99% of our client base has always been and is currently women founded and women run.
And was the idea and the mindset that you have now, knowing what you know now, was that always the goal with that, or did you just find that it was a better fit for your business initially to be working with women, or was this just like this is what I'm going to do as soon as you started, or was it more of an
Mm,
evolutionary type thing?
it was kind of an evolution. However, I could see, even in my corporate career, I saw who was sitting in the C-suite. I saw who
Yeah.
was in the boardroom. I saw who the directors were, and they didn't look like me. They didn't have dark hair. They weren't women. And so there was this like natural understanding, whether I consciously was trying to do that or not. I knew, I could see like this is off. Um, and I just, once I learned more about this inequity, it just fueled the fire of
Yeah.
like, here's a good old fuck you, everyone. I'm going to go do it. And I want other women to see that they can do it too. We're just as capable, if not more. So, like, let's increase that percentage.
And will Hey Sarah, I can't say her name for some reason today. Hey Sarah Schultz primarily be directed and like focused on that moving forward, because realistically you're giving away a ton of free content and information. Like, there's nothing preventing men from going and
Oh, yeah.
utilizing that information. Will that always be directed towards that demographic, or is it going to become like less and less deliberate as that grows, or have you not given any thought to that?
I would venture to guess that it will continue to be just as deliberate, speaking directly to women in business, very rah, you can do it.
Yeah.
Men absolutely can consume the content and the same rules apply. And I have fantastic men in my corner that can see what I'm trying to get after, and they're allies and supporters of this mission too. Like, you guys were both shocked about that statistic. I know that you know women in your lives who are wildly capable, and you're going to be like, go get it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're not trying to be sexist misogynists. So it's from a tone and targeting standpoint to help get the right people to close faster. Yes, I do definitely think honing in on message around female founded businesses is easy to connect and land. Now, I just spent 20 minutes talking about how brands evolve. Maybe Hey Sarah Schultz will evolve. I can't say it never will, but I definitely see a lot of energy continue to be in pouring into women in business and really encouraging and inspiring them. Like, you can fucking do it too. The whole point of what I want is not to do it just to do it. It's to do it to showcase it can be done. And I'm
Mhm.
not a special unicorn. There's not, I just figured it out as I went to, and so can you. So that's a lot of the reason why I like to share behind the scenes, or I like to be messy on social media, or I'm just very honest with how I'm positioning myself. I'm never going to pretend like there's not more for me to learn, or that I haven't fucked up before, or insert goofy thing here. Like, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one step at a time. And eventually, those steps, I'm going to get to that $1 million plus mark.
Mhm.
You can hit your goals, whatever that is.
It's it's what you said earlier. It's that most people are afraid,
Afraid.
and it's so interesting. Um, and I think from a business owner's perspective, it is this constant ebb and flow. And I've talked about it a lot recently, and I think I talked about in the last episode is that you know the business goes up and down, and oftentimes when you're down and you're in that valley, people just they're done. They take off. It's like, listen, I'm not going to climb back up this hill. I've done this 100 times. I'm exiting right now. When it's like when you're at the top of the hill, it's why would I exit? Look how high I am. Like look,
Yeah.
everything's great. And those are the moments that people fear.
Yeah.
Um or they're working their way up the hill, and it's like, hey, you should insert brand strategy. It's like, I'm climbing up a mountain right now, and you want me you want me to
Yeah.
carry another bag of groceries? It's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta get up to the top where I need to be in order for this to be a success. But ultimately people are afraid. And I think about some of the most challenging times in my business and the decisions that I've had to make. And I've had to have a lot of self-talk with myself and just explain, like, all right, hold on a second. I have always believed that the only reason this won't work is because I'll give up. And if I do give up, that's fine. That like I want to be clear about that. A lot of times, like when you didn't get accepted into that program, it's like you can look at that as a failure. But ultimately, it's like, all right, that wasn't for me. Like
Wasn't for me.
I can't take that and allow that to, push me in a direction that I don't want to go. It's like,
Exactly.
okay, that didn't work. I'm going to pivot and I'm gonna charge forward. And I think a lot of people have those moments and they go backwards and they're like, this is a mess. Nothing is working for me, and it becomes this like self pity thing, right? But ultimately, you know, and I've said it on the podcast before, and I've gotten a lot of backlash for it. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And
I agree.
I painted this picture of like, hey, if I get put out of business, I get put out of business. And a lot of my team, said something to me about when I said that. I'm like, it's not about the fact that I don't care about you as an employee, that this is all just a game for me. But the reality is everyone has other opportunities out there. So
Hmm.
if we played worst case scenario out and I got put out of business because of a bad decision, okay, like everyone's going to get a
Hmm.
job. It's like, and then, well, what if you lose your house? Yeah, that would suck. Like I lose my house. It's like, where would you live? I'm like, hopefully one of my
We'll
parents would
figure it
let
out.
me move in, like, or
Yeah.
maybe like, I don't know, I'll move in with a friend. It's like, it's like, well, what if they sue you and take all your money? It's like, yeah, I mean, all of that would suck, right?
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But the reality is like, you know, for a worst case scenario to really play out, I mean, there's just like there would have to be a consistent, just like bad luck after bad
Yes.
luck after bad luck for that actually to play out. Where it's like, sure, if someone comes over and shoves you in the wrong direction, and something like you got to react to it. It's like what you're trying to do is prevent from going back any further. So you hit the brakes
Yeah.
and you reassess and whatever. It's like you charge forward. But I think that people, and this is my I'm just at this point venting, but I think that people just get wrapped up in um being afraid because of what the potential worst case scenario could be.
It's fascinating because business ownership takes a lot of self awareness, a lot of vulnerability. Like, I'm fucking afraid too. This is scary. And I'm going to do it anyway. Because, sure, what if the business fails? But what if I make $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
What if I make $10 million? What if I inspire one woman to get out of a job that makes her unhappy and go launch the next best thing? What if I inspire 100 women to do that? Like, we are so easily willing to play out the worst case scenario that stops us from doing whatever it is that fuels our fires, and not willing to play the same game on the positive. What if I get 10 amazing clients and I can close my books for the next year? What if
Mm-hmm.
let's play that game.
Right.
Let's let that inspire us to make the next moves. I am not saying that this isn't scary. I'm not saying this isn't hard. I'm not saying that I don't have a place of privilege. Like, I could go move back in with my parents if I needed to. They
Mm-hmm.
would make sure that we were okay if something were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
My husband also works, and we have insurance and a nice home, and we're safe. We've got this foundational stuff taken care of, and I don't have fear that that will be pulled away from me regardless of what happens in my business. And I recognize a lot of people in the world have a fear that that will get taken away from them, and that is their reality. It's not my reality. And the magic of being alive today is, it is easier than ever before to communicate your message to the masses, to build a website for very little money, to get a domain for very little money, and ultimately have the makings of a business in a way that has never been as accessible as it is today. You are the only limiter of your capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, go fucking get it. Someone else is going to get it. If it's not you, it's going to be someone else. There's
Right.
enough money, there's enough resources, there's enough clients.
It's funny
Someone
that you
else will get it.
it's funny that you just said that, because recently I was sitting down and I was like, just explaining to what I wanted to do as a builder, like the projects I wanted to do and the homes I wanted to build and sell. And we're going down this road of we acquired two properties that we're going to design and build homes for sale, and
Cool.
we're doing them very untraditionally. It's, you know, people are, and I've gotten a lot of pushback, like, this isn't going to work. You'll never sell it for that. And, you know, you can't get funding for that. And it's just been this like constant, you know, no, 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 no. And I've continued to drive because I believe in it. But someone had said something to me at one point. It's like, are there even enough clients that exist that want that product? And I went into a tailspin that day. And I'm like, am I out of my fucking mind? Am I thinking that like there's this clientele that wants this, that the reality is there's only two of them? And I
Yeah.
started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should just sell a normal product. Maybe I should just sell a product that everyone wants.
Yeah.
And I finally came to my realization, like later on. I'm like, someone reached out and was like, you know, I was talking to someone else and they're like, oh yeah, they just put 20 million into this property in Boston for their, you know, sixth home. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
They're there.
they're there. They're
Yeah.
there.
They're there.
They're just quiet. They're there.
They're not the masses, and you're probably not going to find them on Instagram, but they're out there. And you just have to be willing to, you know, I think one thing that has just served, I know one thing that has served my business so well is me trusting my instincts. And when you get that nagging feeling of like, oftentimes it's in the form of like maybe a red flag when it comes to a client, like, the more in tune I am with that and can respond to that in alignment with what I want and in my belief system and my values and what excites me, it's never served me wrong. So when I get this, like, I'm excited and I'm talking fast and I'll get goosebumps. Goosebumps are a physical reaction to me knowing I'm onto something. I design this way. I make decisions this way. I know that this is landing right now because I've got goosebumps. Like, I can trust that instinctual reaction that I have, that gut reaction that I have. And I'm like, okay, good. This is working. This is landing. I'm going to follow that.
Mm-hmm.
So getting in alignment with that has always served me well. And that's what you spent the day doing. You had a panic. You'll get derailed. And then you were like, no. I'm going to come back. I'm going to recenter. I know what I'm fucking talking about. I trust this. We'll figure it out.
How much motivation does what you're doing for younger women and other women in business provide for you while you're making these decisions? And even hearing you talk, like speaking about goosebumps, like when you're talking about having fear and wanting to stand up and do what you believe in and what's right, like how much does that provide for you if you were to face a challenge to be like, hey, I can't stand down at this point because who's watching me?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely everything. I'm raising two boys right now, which in and of itself annoyed me because I wanted to model these little women that could, you know, continue on. And luckily I had a very silly, like, I had blinders on as to like, oh, I can actually create who's currently in charge, who's currently in power, who currently has the influence. I can mold them to really, you know, drive for change from the inside. So I'm very excited about my boys now. But it is absolutely everything to me of thinking about, I used to have a really hard time talking about wanting wealth. Like, you guys, I want to fucking be rich. And I had a hard time with that because it felt so shallow. It felt like, why do you want this? And it took me years to confidently identify, because like, I don't really like cars. I have a 1,200 square foot condo. I love where we live.
But would you want a yacht?
I want a yacht.
Yeah.
You've heard me talk yacht life.
I've talked about it and I get a lot of shit for it. It's like, why? Like, that's
I
stupid.
want a yacht.
It's like,
but the other thing, it's not stupid. One, it's not stupid. I
mean, it's kind of stupid,
but you know what isn't? What isn't is I want that to call all of my friends and family and fly everyone out and say, come to my yacht for a week. We're doing yacht week, bitches.
See, I would call everyone and tell,
week,
I would tell everyone, but
you need
I would
that
like,
shirt.
but you're not invited because you didn't support it. So
no, I'm calling the supporters. You guys are on the yacht. Come be on the yacht with me. But like, it's that I want.
Yeah.
It's I want money to look at the next generation of business owners and say, oh,
Mhm.
girlfriend, it's bullshit that that's less than 2%. I want to say it's 1.8% of funding
I
goes
do.
from women and people of color for funding
Mm,
their businesses combined. I want to say, hey, lady,
yeah,
here's $2 million to get your idea off the ground. Like,
yeah.
that's what I want to do with my money. I want to be generous with this wealth because, one, I don't have this fear stopping thing. That is a
Mhm,
little unique. And I do have a weird undying belief in myself. I'm going to fucking do it.
mhm.
So it's like, I want to do it for good and I want to be generous. And yeah, there'll be nice stuff along the way. I'm not dumb. I'm not going to pretend. But like, I bought this blazer from Target. So like, I also am still grounded. And I hope, I really will continue therapy to make sure that that stays. But yeah, I just want this like, don't worry, I got this. We're all going to fly out. We're going to have an incredible week. You deserve it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
on the house.
I think that, I'm with you, and I have openly talked about that too, where it's like, yeah, I wanna be wealthy. I want I want things, and most of them, aren't necessarily material. Yeah, I want a
Mm,
yacht. I'd love a private jet. Like, I want that because I want the ability to have that, not because
yes.
like, not for any other reason, but yeah, but I at that point in my life, like, I still wanna give back to my industry, what we're doing here with, Tyler and I advocating for our industry. I wanna build crazy ass houses for the craziest people in the world with just just insane detail, right? That's what I wanna do. And, and the wealth is just a byproduct of that. But I think that, oftentimes it's looked at as negative because it seems like such a selfish thing. It's like, sure, it can be selfish, but the reality is like I want to bring people with me. And
Yes.
ultimately, it's like even in the early days of not having wealth, it's like I still want the people on my team. It's like, hey, the people I want here are the people that believe in what we're doing. That's it. That's who I
Hmm.
want here. It's like if you believe in what we're doing and you're willing to work with me and trust me on this, that's who I want on the team.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the hard part, right? It's like, you know, not only finding those people, but then, how long do they hang out? Like how long are they going to believe in
Yeah.
this? And
Yeah.
the reality is, a lot of people don't end up believing in it for a long time. They come and they're like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't seem like it's going to end up where, we thought it would. So I'm going to seek another opportunity. That's fine. It's
Hmm.
totally fine. It's business, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think wanting wealth and there's a way there's a way to do it that not is not so selfish, but it also is incredibly supportive of what you're trying to do even at day one, where it's like
Yeah.
you're doing this, you know, you're doing free afternoon and Hey Sarah Schultz. It's like that doesn't change. It's like because the acquiring wealth just allows both of those to have more horsepower.
Exactly.
And
And you know what? If you want wealth for selfish reasons, good
yeah,
for you.
yeah, go
Like
for
that's
it.
your
Go for
that's
it.
your business. I don't get a say on that, right? And I just it has taken, I think it's a complex thing and a lot of people have a lot of money issues, and again, this goes back to like being self-aware and
Mhm.
even thinking about like charging what you're worth or sending that proposal when you increase your prices, and you have this like moment where you're like, oh, am I going to really hit send on this? Like, they're going to say no. You got to work through some of that because I can send a giant proposal and just hit send. And I'm like, if you're my person, you're saying yes. And if you're not my person, you're saying no. And either are great. Because if you're a no, I'm going to go find my yes. And that there's plenty of yeses out there. So, you know, it has been, I don't know about you, but when I've been able to step into the reality of like, oh yeah, I do, I know I want this and I think I deserve it and I work hard and I'm talented. When I could clear that noise of all the other like, oh, it sounds selfish or I sound greedy or I sound shallow, like when I got rid of all of that, the money started rolling in. The proposals started getting saying yes to. I doubled my prices and it
Mhm.
was fine.
It
So
just
there's
comes
magic
down
in that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to being self-aware, being confident, and having the esteem that you are worth what you're worth. And
Yes.
I mean, I think that that's especially difficult and probably what you're looking to fight for, being a woman-owned business and what you deal with. So I have 2 daughters. My wife works. I even it's crazy. Even at 9 years old, I see the way that my daughter acts around boys or things that boys do to girls that they feel is normal, and the way that they like concede and acquiesce into this role that is like fucking ingrained in them at 9 years old because nobody taught them that. Like, my wife and I are not like that. Nobody's taught them this, and that's just normal. That's the stuff that like makes it hard to be successful in business, makes it hard to send that proposal with your rate that's
Yes.
higher, and knocking that shit down, abolishing that crap, and proving that what you women do is equal if not greater than what we do. Like, you fucking grow humans inside of you, and then like you're on a stage while doing that. If you've ever witnessed birth, if you've ever witnessed a woman be a mother, if you've ever witnessed a woman be a mother and then go to work, you'll understand that, like, if you don't feel that women are worthy of either getting funding, running a business, having every profession or career, or doing whatever the fuck they want to do, in my opinion, you're like an ignorant coward. And you need to open your eyes. But I'm 100% for women who want to empower other women, men who want to empower other women. It hits close to home having 2 daughters, and I'm so grateful and happy that I have 2 daughters and I don't have smelly boys who run around and pee all over everything. I was like one of 5 with 3 brothers, and I'm like grateful to have daughters. But I see what you guys deal with on a daily basis, and it's very appreciative from myself to see like the example that you're putting forth,
Mm,
and the strength that you possess. And I'm sure that a lot of what you do is scary, but to put an example and put a foot forward that shows all these young women that, hey, like, if I can do this, you can do this too, is really cool. So I appreciate it. I know that we only met the one time, but like, I mean, I go on your website and maybe I'm just in touch with my feminine side, but like, I don't feel like it's like overly feel like I wouldn't hop on your website and be like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Um, like,
well, good.
everything that you're doing is boosting what you believe in, but you're not being condescending towards other people.
Mm, thank
Which I
you.
which I also think is important. Um, so yeah, obviously, like, congratulations on the success, the website, everything that you're doing. I was unaware of the business split, which would explain why, like, when I look up parts of your company, they don't show up. I didn't know. I
You're
thought
like,
it was like
wow.
maybe more deliberate than that. um but we also appreciate you coming on the podcast, and taking time out of your day to help the cause. It's been a lot of fun.
I agree. Thank you for having me, and thank you for saying that. It's nice to be reminded of like the really incredible humans that are in this space,
Mm,
because it is, you read the news and you see so much yuck in comments, or luckily not on my content. I've been so grateful to just have this like online community of love and support, and it's so easy to just listen to that negativity and hold on to that and think that that's the truth. And so it's so lovely to hear positivity and be able to share that with people who also want to share that and encourage others. And that is obviously what the two of you are doing here, sharing your knowledge, and what you've been able to achieve with others is, again, helping a cause that's just so much bigger than each of us as individuals. So thank
Yeah,
you for your hard work and focus.
you're
It's
you're
really cool.
wel- you're welcome. It's important to both of us. Obviously important to you. Is there anything that we should have touched on, that you wanted to touch on, or that you just have to get off your chest?
Get off my chest. Where do you want me to start?
I mean, anywhere.
I think the only thing that's feeling really exciting that is new that we haven't touched on yet is since Huntington Beach, Nick,
Yeah.
my podcast has really started to get some legs. And so
The
I have a
Refund.
co-host, The Refund. I have a co-host, Jordan Diorio, who's the perfect pairing because she's the opposite brain, but kind of, in the same line of what we've been talking about. We specifically speak to women in business about shitty business rules that we think are rules that we want a refund on. We want to get our money back on that limiting belief or that thing we thought we were supposed to do in order to be successful. And so we've had some really fantastic conversations around, questions from, community pooling. We've had a couple of guests come on, and right now we're in the process of seeking larger partnerships to help fund continued efforts to keep the product and project rolling. We want high production. It's video based and also obviously podcast format, relatively shorter episodes, like 30 minutes or less, and really leading with vulnerability and having rich conversations to continue like this, inspiring others. You can do it too.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out, I actually, well before we are speaking here, but sent Nick what you guys are doing with the Refund and the production value of that, and it's great.
Thanks.
It's very well done, very professional. It seems that what you girls are doing, you're putting 110% into, and it turns out really cool. I wish that Nick and I could do that maybe one day.
Well, I know someone that can help. So
I know.
It's been a ton of fun. It's been a ton of fun. It's been a lot of work. And I think if we can continue leading with vulnerability, it'll continue to land. I think that's the biggest piece that we hear feedback from is like, it feels like you're just having a conversation. Cause I'm like, it's really hard. My partner's not an entrepreneur, so he doesn't get my struggles. And that can feel like, are you on my team? Are you on my side? Well, of course he is, but we're just talking different languages. So, it's just having these honest conversations to, again, break down the barriers of wrong belief systems that have been ingrained in us from the playground when we were little that seem normal and aren't, or the reality that, as women, we have natural skill set that's different as men and your natural skill set. And there's nothing wrong with me leading my business with fluidity and lacking structure and emotional. I mean, obviously we need some of those things, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not been modeled for me before. So having those conversations and leaning into what your strengths are and finding a way to be confident and then hiring out whatever else that doesn't work for you, like just talking about those things, talking about paying yourself, talking about making money, talking about charging more. Those are all really important topics that we really like to explore on the Refund.
Yeah, well, anything that we can do to help, let us know.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll
you
link
guys
that in the bio.
seem to have it dialed and covered. But if there's anything that we can do, let us know.
Thanks, gang. We're about to record we're going to get in a new cadence. Before we were season based, and now we're just going to be like ideally every week new content coming out. So when we get ramped up and pushing some of that, or maybe there's someone listening that's interested in sponsoring two really capable women leading a business podcast, would love to chat about what that partnership could look like. But I will definitely tap you if there's anything specific we can think of on the support front.
Awesome.
So if you guys want to listen to it, it's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, right?
Yeah, and we just published our website, therefundshow.com. And it has all of our episodes. You can you can stream right from the website. It also directs to your favorite platforms as well.
Cool.
Amazing.
Sarah, good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. I talked to Morgan about joining for a couple more Contractor Coalition events.
Hell yeah.
So you guys, I'd love to come and share with that audience. I think it's an interesting group who plays in the space of safe sometimes, of like not willing to invest in brand and identity. So it's a fun group to kind of educate on the importance of what that looks like, because you guys draw in a really cool demographic of people who are interested in leveling up, who are interested in really differentiating in the marketplace. I really love talking to that type of that group.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll link all that stuff in the bio below.
Perfect.
And I'll catch up with Morgan and find out when we're going to get you back to another summit. And
Sounds
until
great.
then, maybe we'll get you back on the podcast for another episode in the future.
I'd love it. I'd love to share the 2%er team. We can all wear shirts, matching shirts.
All right.
It's yacht week, bitches.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yacht week, bitches.
That's the opener right there.
That's the shirt.
That's perfect. I can make it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah,
you
you
as well.
too.
See ya.
Bye.